This is part 2 of my conversation with Kris Clewell, the director of Editorial at Petrolicious magazine. I recommend going back and watching the first part of this episode before this one. What is, in your personal experience, the coolest thing that you've owned and why?
What makes a car cool, I guess, is the question. Is it what I think of it? Is it like what the internet thinks is actually cool? Because the internet would say my
What,
911, right? That everybody would be like, "Oh, your 911, that one right there." Everybody would think that's the coolest car, but it's probably actually this one over here, this 114 that was a very special car that I tried to get for a couple of years. It was sitting at a shop. And I was like, "Hey, man, Bjorn, the guy that owns the shop." I'm like, "I really want to buy that car. I really want to buy that car." And it's this white 114. The Euro headlights are in the trunk, and the carburetors were in the trunk. I really want that car. Finally, one day he called me. He's like, "Hey, man, the old lady's doesn't want to fix the car. You can buy the car." So I bought it for I think $800 was the cost of that car. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, the European headlights in the truck, those are also $800." So the headlights cost the same as the car did. But over time, like, my buddy fixed that car, painted that car. I put all new bushings, everything on the car, all new suspension, everything on that car is new. I've been through a couple different iterations with the engine from I had an AMG engine in there that we 3D printed intake manifolds and put Weber side drafts on it. Right now, it's got a BMW S50 engine in it that I swapped in. And I owned that car during a really, really hard time in my life where I was really sick. And Jeff, my business partner over at Overcrest, hand painted the livery on that car, and on the hood it says "Driven to Death," and reincarnate your youth on the hood. And there's all kinds of motifs on that car that kind of, unbeknownst to him, by fate, really defined my time and how my life was with that car. So that car is probably the only forever car that I have. Everything else could go. I don't want to sell the 911, but if someone made me an offer on it that I couldn't refuse, I would sell it. But it would be really hard pressed to pry that 114 out of my hands. That thing is just too special.
Out of all the cars that you've worked on, what is the trickiest part that you've had to deal with?
Oh my gosh, dude. I've worked on so many different things. I think there's two, probably two. The hardest things are swapping. I don't know, like, if there's, like, an instance of, like, "Oh my gosh, this is a nightmare." I've had so many things, I'm like, why was this engineered this way? Does the engineer hate me?" I've had all that kinda stuff happen to me where you're turning a bolt, like, just like a little hair at a time. But that car was hard to build. An S50 BMW engine and a Mercedes was hard to build. I have a, 1989 Isuzu Trooper as well, and my buddy Alex helped me, put a TDI into it. So it's got a stage 3 TDI in it. No one has ever done that before. We 3D scanned in the engine, 3D scanned in the transmission, and he custom made me an adapter plate and a flywheel so that I could keep the Isuzu transmission. And but this all, like, the hardness comes over a long period of time because it's all these little steps that add up and all these problems that come up that you don't know about. Because you think you could be like, "Okay, I'm gonna swap that engine into that car. This is all the things I'm gonna need to do right here. I gotta do all these things." But it's not like that. It's like, "Okay, I'm gonna take the old engine out and I'm gonna look at the engine harness and figure out what I need to keep." And then it's, "Oh, I gotta set the engine into the car and see where the engine mounts need to go." And because you put the engine mounts in a certain place, that means the radiator can't go there. And because the radiator can't go there, then where do you put the intercooler? And oh, the drive shaft doesn't match up. Oh, the engine cants a little bit this way. So I have to do these engine mount things like this. And the transmission mount, oh, it needs a custom drive shaft. And it's like this cascade of things that happen. But they're all these, like, um it's all these meals that you have to eat, right? You can't just eat the whole thing all at once or you'd explode. So you just have to, like, do it day by day and eat these meals of these problems and solve them as you go. As for, like, one specific thing, I mean, I think one of the things that sucked the most was being in the mountains of Idaho and having a brake caliper seize up going down the mountain when I didn't have anywhere to go and didn't know anybody. And we went to a junkyard and like pulled one off at a junkyard. And I drove there with a seized caliper, and, you're doing the work on the side of the road, and that sucked. That wasn't great. That was like freezing drizzle. That was a shitty, shitty day. I've had I I've had brakes fail on that car. I drove it all the way from Denver to Minneapolis, which is 20 hours with no brakes. I've had the brakes fail on that in the middle of nowhere where I had to drive it through the mountains with no brakes, which is terrifying. There's all kinds of different versions of wow, that sucked. There's so many different kinds.
What is something, maybe a minor detail about a car that you think most people wouldn't know?
I would say people glamorize driving a right-hand drive car, but it actually is horrible. It's everything sucks. Do not ever own a right-hand drive car. They don't realize the idiosyncrasies that come up. You can't go through drive-throughs. The only thing that works great is you can get your mail really easily. Everything else is awful. You'd be driving down the road, you're on the interstate in the right lane, and as you do, you start to daydream and you're on autopilot. And pretty soon you're driving down the middle of the road because your brain is so used to being on the left side of the lane that you drift over, and pretty soon you're driving down the middle of the road in your right-hand drive car. I guess that's one that I would mention is don't buy a right-hand drive car. Find the plus all the parts are hard to find. God, it was an E30 and it was such a nightmare. Like all the linkages and stuff because the brake booster was still on the left side. Yeah, maybe if it's Japanese, it's okay because they start as right-hand drive cars. I mean, that's a little different. Don't buy German market right-hand drive. Don't do that.
Because, well, a number of factors. You've got to have all these crazy experiences. What are some of your favorite memories?
Gosh, man, I've driven even just driving that 911. I've driven at 100,000 miles. Um, I've been lucky to. I think all of my memories that are really, really important come down to memories with the person that you're doing your road trip with. From either of my daughters, you know, I took. I think one of my favorite moments was taking Veronica, my younger daughter, on a road trip. We were in the 911 driving it back from San Francisco, and she had a Polaroid camera. And I remember there was this moment where she, you know, took a picture of the sunrise with her Polaroid, and it popped out, and she looked at it. She's like, "Dad, this is the first time I've ever seen the sunrise." Oh my gosh, that's pretty cool. There's moments where, you know, my buddy Jason Larson, who does road trips with me, and a lot of the times it's misery too. I remember being in this 911 over here, and it's like 106 degrees and humid in Arkansas, and we're just dying. And you've got like a microfiber covered in water that you dumped out, and it's on your head, so you can't. So you're just trying to stay alive. And looking in hindsight, those are kind of funny memories. Taking my daughter in a Ford Pinto Squire wagon to Utah in the middle of summer. Wow, there's some good memories there. I remember seeing her looking over and seeing her red hair, her doing the thing with her hand, out the window. She's doing this, and you can see her red hair with the sun's, shining through and setting. That was a beautiful time as well. I don't think that I can pick one, but I will say that the moments that matter most are the ones that you share with others while you're on a road trip. And that's not to say that being alone is bad. I love being alone on road trips too. One of my favorite moments is one of the things that kind of kicked off um Overcrest is I was alone in my car. My buddy Alex was doing some filming. And I was in Utah on the Highway 12, and I was driving by this cliff wall that was right next to the car, like right here, very close. And the sun was perpendicular to me, and it was right over here on my right, shining through uh, the passenger window. And you look over, and you could see the perfect silhouette of a 911 on the wall. And I remember looking over at it and just waving at myself. And I remember that moment because it felt like that moment was uniquely mine. And it was very special to have that be mine. So, being alone is okay too, but the special moments are the ones you share with others.
How did you first become an enthusiast?
Oh, that Volkswagen Rabbit, really. That was once something becomes yours, And I think there's probably something quirky about it too that kind of got me going. You're different. You're the only guy with the Volkswagen Rabbit drive around. It's probably part of it. Becoming an enthusiast, I don't know. I think it's something. I was never the guy that had like the turbo hanging on the wall, a picture of a Porsche on the wall. I didn't read Road and Track. I didn't do any of that stuff, any of the typical stuff. I used to feel really self-conscious about that actually, because everybody always had these great stories about how they came up and, oh, I used to read Road and Track and my dad used to take me to Brands Hatch and I used to see all these race cars and but I didn't have any of that. It was just really me and grandpa working on shit, and doing road trips with him. And, he would always take the long way home and explore and we'd drive to Kansas in a van. And I don't really know if I can put my finger on when it started, but I can tell you that my experience was very atypical from what the people that I interview, which always there's always like this similar thread. And maybe they're all full of shit too, that they're just trying to say that that's what it was. And I suspect there's probably deeper roots to everybody's enthusiast journey. But for me, I think it was just doing road trips with grandpa.
If you could have any car, you could own it, what would it be and why?
I don't really lust for a particular model of car. I lust for varied experience. I don't want to own a particular car. There's great cars. I'd love to own an SL. I'd love to own a Ferrari 400i or what 400i I think it is. Maybe. That automatic V12 thing. I want to own one of those. I want to own a Ford Cosworth RS. I want to own a Maserati bi-turbo. I want to own a C36 AMG. I want to own a Hammer. I want to there's so many cars out there that to own. I can't pick one. I just want new experiences. I've never owned an R107 convertible, so I bought one for scouting the rally this fall. Can I have a new experience? That excites me just as much as I don't know, like, would I want to own a Ferrari F40? Sure. I don't know. I don't know that I would get that much more enjoyment out of that than I would um, anything else. Things that cost, you know, a third of the price, a quarter of the price, a tenth of the price. For me, it's about new experiences. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll take an F40 and I'll take it on some gravel roads and drive it through some rivers and really get on people's nerves. But yeah, I chase new experiences. I don't have a particular model that I'd really like to have. There's too many cool cars out there, too many things to own.
Is there a car that you think is often overlooked?
I do think the hmm, I think the old Mercedes stuff is overlooked. And it's probably just because of the volume of which they were created. And it's hard to find manual transmissions in old Mercedes stuff, but they're built really, really well. They are they're tanks, they were overbuilt, and I think that they are bought by different people that will buy like BMWs with manuals or E28 or E30 and stuff like that. The old Mercedes stuff is really cool, over engineered, well built, really advanced technology for its time. And I think people see them as more like luxury barges, which they can be at times, but there are a lot of models out there that are really good and handle really well and truly have way better technology than anyone else had at the time.
You briefly mentioned Overcrest. What exactly do you do there?
Well, Overcrest started as a podcast. As you can tell, we've got a podcast set up here. This is where I do our podcast, the Overcrest podcast, and we do event production as well. So we started doing rallies. That moment that I talked about where I waved at myself on on Highway 12 near Escalante. That moment was so revelationary for me that I said, we really need to have other people experience this, experience driving and experience exploring and adventuring. So we started Overcrest, and it was at the time it was me and Jeff and Jake, my co-host on the podcast. We just started doing rallies and seeing if we could get people to come out. We did a couple here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then um, really took a big risk and went out to Utah and said, "Hey, anybody want to come drive out in the middle of nowhere?" And we're really, really, really surprised um, by the response. A lot of people came out, and we do a different place each year. Sometimes we do one rally, sometimes we do two, sometimes we do three. Um, we always keep people guessing.
So you seem to have driven all over the U.S. Do you have a favorite place that you've driven?
Now, obviously, Highway 12 is special to me. Um, it's kind of like a cliche statement, I guess, but my favorite road is always the one I haven't driven yet. I want to go find new places and experience new things. I really like Idaho. I love driving through the Sawtooth Mountains. Um, Idaho is great, really, really remote. There's a lot of special places out there. Dead Indian Pass is really cool. That's in Montana. Yeah, Sequoia National Forest has lots of great roads that I can't even remember what they are, but they're wonderful. But honestly, it's for me, it's just about just like with the cars, experiencing a new car. I want to experience new roads. And everybody's always like, "Oh, what's your favorite road?" And everybody expects it to be like some road with mega twisties and stuff like that. But I think different roads have different purposes for what you want. And a lot of times you want that road where you can kind of get into that mechanical zen where you're driving the car and you feel one with the machine and all this prototypical stuff that people talk about. But there's also, the road that goes off into the distance. It's just a vanishing point road where you get to just focus and kind of decompress and defrag. Those are great roads too.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone just getting into cars, what would it be?
I think the advice that I would give is universal with anyone that hasn't done anything is you just have to just do it. Just do it. Just whatever it takes, do it. Just get something. Just start. Just start. Buy something. Get something. Start doing it. Start driving. Start exploring. Same thing when it comes to writing. People are like, oh, I have writer's block. How do I get over writer's block? Well, you get over it by writing. You just have to write. Put words on paper. Um, yeah, it's just that first step is hard, but you got to just take it. And the same thing is with cars. If you know, and then just work on stuff. What's the worst that's going to happen? You break it. So what? It's America, man. You can get parts for anything you want, really. It's not that hard. People are machining things, 3D printing things. There's more information out there than ever. There's communities to help. Especially if you're a young kid, there's all kinds of old dudes like me that are happy to help anyone out. Like, what do you need? How do I help you? How do I pass information down to you? Like, what can I do? Tell me, I'm here. There's all kinds of support networks. So do not be scared. Just take the first step and do it.
Do you have a favorite story around a car that you've heard or that you've been a part of?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think it's your life just becomes an amalgamation of I think your life is really the story. There's all the little ones of like breaking down on the side of the road with my grandpa and having the oil pan break and him sitting up on a hill and going, why does everything have to be so low? This is stupid. And as the oil's like pouring out of the car, or breaking an axle in Yosemite National Forest in an old Mercedes with grandpa and getting stuck at a campsite there with him. And for some reason, he had camping equipment with him. So we camped in Yosemite National Park while the guys that work on tractors and bulldozers fix our old Mercedes and put an axle in it. Being with Alex Nelson, a good friend of mine, on that road trip where we filmed Das Ziel, which was one of the first content pieces I was ever involved with. The road trips with my daughters, all the Overcrest people, man. I mean, gosh, some of the best parts are creating the rallies and the events that I get to live vicariously through others and watch them experience it and make their own stories. Um, the whole favorite thing, I don't really have favorites on anything. I don't think it's all just this mashup and amalgamation of different experiences, and it's always something different. Like I got so much in my brain, man, that whatever's my favorite today is probably not what my favorite's going to be tomorrow.
You have engine swapped cars more than most. What is it? I guess I should say, what is the allure to doing such a thing?
Learning, I think, learning and exploring something new and going, I have no idea how to do this. None. Like I'd never swapped something that doesn't belong into something else until I did that Mercedes. It all been like kind of OEM swaps, Volkswagen to Volkswagen or whatever the case may be. And I it was a funny thing. Engine blew up at Road America and I called some friends out in California and I was like, this piece of shit blew up. I think I'm just gonna crush the car and blah 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 blah. And one of them went, "You should have just put a BMW engine in it." And I went, "I will." And I did. But it was this thing where I didn't know. I didn't know how to start. I just was like, well, figure this out as we go. Like I said, it's one meal a day. Just get through it. And I like that process of learning and struggling and getting mad and going to bed angry that you couldn't figure out, and then waking up, or getting up in the middle of the night, going to the garage with an idea and going, "I solved it. Yes." And you're standing in front of the car. I'm just like naked going with this light bulb above my head that I solved the problem. So there's all those, you don't get those moments and stuff like that if you don't take the risk to try something that you don't know how to do.
You mentioned Road America. Do you often take your cars on track days?
Never. I've never done a track day. I've been on track for like journalist stuff. Like I did some stuff for StanceWorks way back in the day when the M3 came out. I got to drive that on track. I've driven on the Nürburgring. I've driven on tracks before, but I am not a track day guy. I'm not competitive in that way. I do not care. Lots of respect for other people that do it. I like watching other people do it. I think motorsports is sick. I like watching motorsports. I'll watch Formula One sometimes. I love going to the vintage races, but yeah, I just don't care. I don't care. I don't care about stopwatches or timing myself or anything. I enjoy other people doing motorsport, but personally, it doesn't. Yeah, I like being fast doesn't do anything for me at all. I don't care.
Is there a particular event that you want to go to that you haven't yet?
I'd love to go to Le Mans Classic. I'd love to see Le Mans Classic and go and look and see it, like see all those old cars. And um, yeah, I'd also like to go to the DWA rally. Those guys are some of the pioneers of doing rallies and community based stuff. And I look up to what they built and look up to them a lot. And I'd love to go on one of their rallies. Texas Hill Country Rally. I'd love to go on one of those dudes' rallies as well. I have not done that yet. Peking to Paris. I'd love to do that. That sounds really sick. So there's all kinds of stuff I'd love to do. All kinds.
Thanks for your time, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Thanks for doing it.
Well, this has been the Exhaust Note Podcast. I'm Brynn Patton, and that is Kris Clewell. See you next time.